Artists, I want this year to be the most profitable art year of your life. And so do you, right? That's why I want to give you this video series on how to conduct yourself and your rights and everything that you need to know in order to get a thriving art business going. It's going to start with this art business growth guide. So here comes a really brutal reality that y'all are going to face as you are conducting yourself as a business person, as you're growing yourself, as you're starting to feel that momentum coming, okay? You're inevitably going to hit those certain times where you're getting a lot of business and then nothing. You are going to get flash floods and you're gonna get droughts, okay? There have been so many times where I've experienced just like waves and waves and waves and next after next after next, and everything is coming in at once. And then it's just like crickets and nothing. So you're gonna go from these peaks and valleys of like, woohoo, I'm on top of the world, to like, I'm worthless, nobody wants to buy from me. Like, this is totally normal though, okay? But if you are experiencing a very long sustained drought, like I'm talking like more than a couple months, then you need to reevaluate what your systems are, what you need to do, and how you can be more successful and how you can target your potential clients. Because by doing this, you are actually going to continue to get more floods than you are droughts. So make sure that you are not on a sustained famine. I've seen so many artists freak out about this, so don't be one of them either. So as you're starting and you're growing your business, inevitably, as you start talking to more and more people, as you start to create more and more leads, you're gonna get people who will say things to the effect of, no, or that's too much, or that's outside of my budget, or, oh, I wish I could, but I can't. And that's usually why most entrepreneurs are going to quit and fail, because they're just gonna get just really downtrodden. They're gonna get really defeated over the fact that their close rate isn't 100%. But y'all, if this is you, friend, I just need to let you know this, that is a horribly unrealistic expectation. In no other field, in no other circumstance in life, can you really expect to just nail it 100% of the time? Like, why are you doing that to yourself? Don't set yourself up for failure like that. Like, seriously, check it out like this. If you are a NBA player, you are only hitting a basket 40% of the time. If you are a professional MLB player, you're missing that ball 70% of the time when you're trying to hit it. So why in the world do you think that you, as an art entrepreneur, do you think that you are supposed to close every single sale? That's just not realistic, friend. But here's the thing I do want you to think about though, is that every single time that you initiate a conversation, every single time that you're talking about an opportunity, that is an opportunity for you to get some cash, to get some money, for you to grow yourself. So don't get discouraged by that. Get encouraged by every single opportunity that comes your way, whether it does or it doesn't fan out, because that is an opportunity for you to grow and for you to fine tune all of your systems so that you will close more often. Have you ever been talking with somebody and they are extremely interested, like they're just so enthusiastic, they just love you, and they just love your art, and then you slap down your price and they're like, okay, that sounds great. Let me just get back to you, or let me just talk to so-and-so, let me check in with my wife, my husband, and we'll get right back to you, right? And you're just so enthusiastic, like you cannot wait to start that project, right? Well, I gotta drop this bomb on you, friend. You should never, ever count on that going through. And what I mean by that is I'm not saying that you shouldn't be enthusiastic about the prospect of it, but y'all, don't ever count your money before it is collected. I don't even really think twice about any type of business opportunity until I get a PayPal notification for it. And if you are doing this, friend, I'm gonna tell you, a client's interest does not equal their potential to buy, okay? It's great, but honestly, y'all, sometimes you're gonna talk to somebody who's super enthusiastic and then life is just gonna punch them in the face and they're gonna realize their real circumstances. Maybe they don't have the money. Maybe it's actually not a good decision for them. Maybe it's not something that they are comfortable with, and they may or may not just ghost you at that point. But don't feel bad about that. But most certainly do not ever spend money before you actually collect it, because I have definitely gotten super excited and gone out and bought something, or you go out to dinner and then guess what? Deal falls through. And then at the end of the day, you just feel like an idiot. So make sure you don't make that mistake. All right, so check this out. Now you've got that client hooked and they promise that they're gonna go ahead and do it, and you've agreed to it. Maybe you even signed a contract or something like that too. Now you're starting to get really excited. You're starting to do some work, you're starting to do some sketches, and you're starting to gather some references. You're starting to get really into that project, get really invested into it, right? But hold up, halt. Don't do that. The problem here is that you should never, ever do anything until you collect payment. One time I had an author who wanted me to read a chapter of their book so that I understood it so I could make the cover. And I was like, whoa, hold on there, bro. No, we're not doing that because I'm not going to invest into you until you invest into me. And that's the attitude I like you to have too, because it's a safe, sustainable attitude, my friend. The issue here is that this is often a very predatory practice of people who are trying to scam you. Y'all watch out for this because listen, why do you want to proceed forward and invest your time and energy and your excitement into a project when at the same time you're battling the doubt and you're battling the anxiety of, am I gonna collect payment? Am I actually gonna get the payment that I want? You are never going to bring the best possible version of that artwork out if you are constantly worried about the payment potential of it. So make sure that you're protecting yourself and do not ever do anything for any type of client or any type of business opportunity unless you are collecting payment first. Now here's the worst business decision that you're ever gonna make in your life, y'all. Not liking and subscribing to this channel, y'all. What are you waiting for? I give you lots of pearls of wisdom for you to grow and be a better artist, a better business person. So make sure you do that and make sure you pay attention to this too. Now, let's say that you've got some momentum going, right? Maybe you've got a steady stream of clients coming in. You're starting to roll in a little bit of dough. It's kind of nice, right? You got that side hustle income coming and you're starting to really grow it, right? And now you really start to think about this, or hey, maybe you're just starting out and this question pops in your head like, hey, do I have to establish myself as an official business at this point? Are you thinking that you have to LLC or incorporate yourself? Or are you thinking like, man, do I have to go down to the bank and go ahead and get a business checking account? Hold that thought. Okay, because listen, there are some people that will literally like get their first $75 commission and then they'll like be running to the bank trying to figure out, well, which business account do I get and which one has the least fees that I have to pay, and just stop doing that, y'all. Here is my ultimate advice for you. The only reason that you should be starting an LLC is in establishing yourself as an official business is when you have a steady stream of income, you have that sustained client base, and you're starting to accumulate a pretty good, decent amount of money. Just to put a monetary figure on that, in USD, I'm talking like $5,000 to $10,000 within a calendar year. And at that point, you can definitely think about establishing yourself as a business entity. Otherwise, honestly, it's just not even worth it. It's not worth it for the fees. It's not worth it for the extra aggravation when you have to do your taxes and stuff. Anything less than that, like you can just go ahead and claim that as extra income and just put away 30% of every single one of your sales. And you're good to go with that, okay? But the reason why you would want to go ahead and establish an LLC, which is a limited liability company, would be for tax purposes. And so that you don't have Uncle Sam or whatever country's version of that you're in right now coming after you because you're earning too much money, okay? When you get that business checking account, when you have a steady flow of income, because business checking accounts, y'all, they have stipulations, they have rules, they have regulations, they have fees associated with them. And if you can't maintain that average daily balance, it's just not even worth it for you. So don't worry about that, y'all, but grow into that eventually too. But otherwise, y'all, you can just keep it a lot more casual than that, okay? Just put away money for yourself so you don't get screwed on your taxes. A common thing that I talk to people about all the time, and I hear this so ad nauseum that it just drives me crazy, is that once you start to think about yourself as a business, the first thing people will be like, I need a website and I need to host on this domain. I need to make sure that I pay this amount. I need to make sure that I pay enough to rank it in SEO. Go ahead and just do it on social media first. Like advertise yourself there, because literally there are billions of eyes that are on social media every single day, and that costs you $0 to go ahead and advertise yourself. Versus if you're gonna set up a website, why would that be a great thing for you? But the only reason that you would want to have a website in place for you would definitely not be if you have commissions. It would not be if you're doing illustrative works every once in a while. It would not be if you're just a concept artist and you need a portfolio. Y'all, there are plenty of places you can host your portfolio for free, like ArtStation, like Behance. You can go ahead and put your website on these and they serve as professional quality websites for you to put on, okay? Do not get suckered in to the broken mindset of thinking that you must have a website in order to succeed. Better things that you can do too is that if you do have some type of established following, is that you could probably just go ahead and assemble an email list. And then that way you will literally reach your customers. But do not waste money and waste an extensive amount of time trying to design some big, awesome, fancy website or paying somebody to do it for you when you don't even have that much of a business plan in place in order to get the traction, in order to get the sales from that website. It's such a waste of time, y'all. Please live in the current age. You don't need this anymore until you're huge. Now, once you get a lot of momentum, all right, then you're gonna start to assemble some cash. you can, especially once you have yourself set up as a business entity, as an LLC or anything above that, if you have employees, then you can definitely think about how do you reinvest that. Here's the rule. Do not ever pay for something on credit. There's gonna be a lot of people coming after you as soon as you establish yourself as a business, or you might think that you're a business and you think it's okay to do it because you've got a little bit of money coming in every once in a while. But this is a bad idea, y'all. Do not ever go into debt for your business, or your business is going to drown you and you're gonna hate it and you're gonna resent it. Do not ever do this, y'all. If you're gonna buy a new computer, save up for it. Pause on that. Save up for that new computer, save up for that ultra awesome, better, bigger, cooler, amazing drawing tablet that you want, but don't go ahead and place it on a business credit card. It's just a bad idea, y'all. Plus, what happens if your business dips? What happens if you need to pivot yourself and you start to go into something else and it's not that successful for a little bit, but now you still have to pay bills? That's not a good idea, is it, y'all? The other thing that I want to really focus you into, though, reinvesting in, you need to make sure that you are not taking an exorbitant amount of money that you are collecting in and spending it on yourself. Okay? Do not think that that is just free extra money, okay? Think about how you can invest that back into your business to grow that business, okay? Like for me, I think about what tools and equipment do I need? What stuff do I need for YouTube? Like this is stuff that I've reinvested back into this so that I can grow as I've been growing, okay? The other thing is, and this is totally free, y'all, but you need to invest into your relationships. This is the number one thing that you should really be investing into. So think about your clients. How do you give them a better experience? And how do you branch out and you reach new clients? And how do you go ahead and you build some relationships with some other businesses, with some other artists, okay? Take a lot of time to invest into that. And then most importantly though, invest into yourself. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Make sure that you're personally developing yourself. Make sure that you're learning about business. Make sure you're learning about how to grow as a human being, because there will be no better dividend that you will ever get in your entire life than you investing into yourself. So please don't forget about that either. It's not all about the money, y'all, but the money will follow your personal development. Your value will never exceed the value of what you provide others. Another big blockade I see people fall into all the time is that they'll think that they need to have some like super legally sound, ultra robust contract that they have at the go every single time. Like some people won't even start their business, won't even start to even do a freaking commission for $52 until they have a contract. And I get this question a lot. They'll go, Sean, do I need a contract in place? Honestly, no, you do not. Like the only reason that you should 1000% always have a contract in place would be if you are working with an established business. Like if you're gonna do a book cover for a corporate entity, yes, you should. If you're gonna do concept art for them, yes, you should. If you're freelancing for Riot Games, yes, you should have a contract in place, because you are not only giving them the artwork, but you are also giving them the asset and the ownership rights, okay? Otherwise, if you're just working with private clients, y'all, no, you do not have to have a contract in place. Now, all that being said though, I would still have one ready, but I don't start off, and I did not start off having a contract, but that is something that I went ahead and I made as I went through it. Because sometimes a client will ask for it, but I'm gonna be real with you. Over the course of doing this for the years that I have, I've only been asked for it twice, okay? Otherwise, when I've worked with businesses, yes, corporations, you should always have a contract in place. If you have, by the way, no idea how to make a structured contract, I have a link down here in the description for how you can make a contract. And also, if you need a terms of service agreement, right down there for you too. But these are not and should not serve as a blockade for you to start, because if that's the case, y'all, you're just looking for some reason to stall. So please take your foot off the brake and hit the gas. Now, as you're conducting yourself online, one thing that really people don't understand is what are the rights of artists versus what are the rights of clients. So check it out and get learned right now. So y'all, for round one, we are gonna start off with pricing. Yes, this is the most heated topic because I see this as a really common issue people talk about a lot. How much should art be worth? How much is fair to charge? From the client perspective on pricing, they're thinking it should definitely be low. I mean, for goodness sake, they're not going to Fengzu for this. They're not contacting an illustration agency for this. They're coming to you. You are a private artist for this. They might be looking at it as, oh, hey, well, I'm giving someone a shot here. And from the client perspective, you gotta remember, they're thinking, well, hey, look, I'm not rich, y'all, so I'm just gonna go ahead and buy art from somebody because I can't afford those big time illustrators, and that's why they come to you. Now, the artist's perspective on pricing is that pricing needs to be fair and they should be compensated with high wages. And from the artist's perspective, this is totally okay to ask for hundreds of dollars for artwork because it takes lots of time and effort and it takes lots of investment to get to there. So it's only fair that you be compensated for it. And it doesn't matter who that person is coming to you. One thing I'll also note is that artists generally feel very afraid. They feel very anxious about having to ask for 3 digits on artwork. They've seen lots of poor pricing practices all over the internet, and therefore they feel that they are not able to hit competitive wages because there are so many people out there charging single and barely double-digit numbers for artwork, so therefore they have to lower themselves. So for this round, I definitely gotta give it to the artists, all right? Here's the truth, y'all, and this is very black and white, right or wrong, is that when you are dealing with art, it is dealing with somebody who is a skilled tradesman. And that means that it takes lots of years and time and investment in order to do these things. And I just want to relate this to a couple other skilled trades. Think about plumbers, think about carpenters, think about mechanics. Now, one different thing about artists versus any of the skilled trades that I just mentioned there is that first off, art is not a necessity in life. You don't need to have it. It is a luxury. So if you are an artist watching this, I just want to empower you real quick. You should feel comfortable asking for fair wages for them. Now, I just made a whole video about all the issues surrounding low pricing and lowballing yourself, so go ahead and watch that after this. In round 2, we're gonna now discuss estimates and quoting. So how should clients be able to know exactly what they're gonna get and how much it costs so that they can plan for it? Should artists just be able to charge whatever they want? Should this be a mysterious process, or should this be a process with a lot of transparency? Let's examine. From a client's perspective, before they even reach out to an artist, before they even show any type of interest, they feel that they should be able to look at some ultra specific sheet and be able to say, okay, well, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Clients may also want to be able to just take a look and say, okay, well, a character is X amount, as if art is something that you can just stuff into a UPS box and just say, well, as long as it fits within that, that's how much it costs. Now, a lot of clients are very anxious to reach out to an artist, and that's why they tend to appreciate when it just everything is out there and it's not mysterious. Now, on the flip side here, artists feel that they should be able to charge accordingly to whatever they want. However, though, you're gonna see a lot of artists not doing this. Again, due to a lot of really common practices out there that are not very successful, by the way, you're going to see a lot of artists just really undercharging themselves, and they're going to make their pricing too generic. Now, another thing that artists will want to do is when they're going to be accepting clients, all they're going to want is somebody to fill out a Google form, send them an email, or send them a DM, and they're just going to be able to go, boom, this is exactly how much it's going to cost. Now, the results of round 2, this is a double knockout because I'm going to be honest, both of them are very wrong in how they're approaching this. First off, on the topic of quoting somebody, you cannot know all of the details about a project until you are actually invested into a conversation with them. A lot of artists struggle with this because a lot of artists want this really robotic version where they just want to spell everything out and they want clients to come to them already knowing that they are going to pay, instead of investing some time into really getting to know the intricacies of the project and making sure that they are therefore fairly compensated. Now, if you're not really certain how to go ahead and do this and what shape this looks like, I actually made an entire video about how you should talk to art clients and how you should use a conversation method rather than a robotic price sheet or a commission sheet. God help you if you're using a commission sheet and you've been watching this channel for a while, but that's linked down below, so go ahead and watch that after this. For round 3, we are going to slug it out about payment. So what is right, what is wrong, and what's even scammy? Let's check this out. From the client's perspective, there's no guarantee that they're going to like it, and therefore they feel that it is okay and it is definitely acceptable to go ahead and ask for work to be done before any type of payment is rendered. And this can be in the form of split payments, partial payments, or just overall everything at the end. They could be waiting until they get a sketch or a line art or a color comp, or the whole thing is completed before the artist even gets a penny. They don't really have a lot of confidence in that process, especially if they're going to a new artist that they're unfamiliar with. They are not really certain that they're going to get what they want out of it. And this seems fair, right? Because they want the product before they render payment. Now, from the artist's perspective, artists feel that they need payment first. However, though, they are also very afraid, especially if you're new and starting out on this, then they're afraid to ask for payment because they're not really certain
what they should be doing, how much work they should do before it's fair to go ahead and ask someone for compensation for it. And they might feel that it's crooked to ask for any type of payment before they've even done anything for it. And they're not really sure what is the professional standard and practice for how they should ask for payment. So for this round, I definitely got to give it to the artists here. Artists need to have payment first. I'm going to tell you why, especially listen to this if you're an art client, because it shows your commitment to the project and establishes a really important reciprocal relationship of trust. And that is foundational to a good working relationship. It's also important because not paying an artist at the beginning of a project really reinforces negative feelings of being undervalued as an artist. Like we're not important, and that's not cool. So if you are an artist, my friend, I want to give you this advice. Never, ever do anything on a project until you are paid for it. All right? Don't do anything. Don't sketch. Don't pick up a pencil, brush, or stylus until you've received some form of payment, whether it's a split payment, partial payment, or full payment upfront. That is what you need to do. Round 4 now, y'all. We're gonna discuss now what type of examples do artists need to display for a client to show that they are proficient in whatever project that they're wanting to do. So let's talk about what is necessary and is there a wrong way to do this? Now, from the client perspective, they want to see examples of exactly what they want done. No matter how weird or obscure or off the beaten path that project in mind is, they want to see examples of exactly what that is, because to them, that instills confidence into them. And from a client's perspective, they're looking at everything through the lens of a non-artist, meaning again, that they are not familiar with art making or the process or any technical jargon from artists. They're just looking at it from the standpoint of what's attractive and what's going to look best for them. Now, from the artist perspective, artists will feel that any type of artwork that they display, as so long as it shows skill, is going to be okay. This is why you see a lot of like art commission sheets are just full of like totally different random examples of all different things. And artists will understand that art is a set of transferable skills. Just because you can do a photorealistic portrait doesn't mean you can't do anime necessarily. And artists will understand that there's no perfect example for everything that a client wants. So just showing their baseline of skill is going to be an acceptable practice for attracting clients. For this round, I gotta give it to the client. When artists present a portfolio full of examples that are completely irrelevant to what type of job that client wants, and it's not niche down and it is not specific, it's going to cause them to get overlooked. So if you're an artist, my advice to you is you need to niche down. You need to know exactly what your style and your genre is. And if you're not certain how to do it, go ahead and watch last week's video about the 3 things that you need to start art commissions, because I guarantee you it's going to be life-changing for you. It's going to help you get a lot more clients. It's going to help you focus into exactly what you need. So go ahead and watch that right after this. Now for round 5, we're going to talk about updates. You want to know exactly what is fair, what is the standard, if you will, about how often artists should be checking in, how they're going to provide proof of purchase, how are they going to back up the client's financial investment. And this is a really big topic, and I want to jump into this, so let's examine it. So from the client perspective, because they have financially invested into the artist, because they've invested into the project, then therefore they are entitled to as frequent communication as they want. And they can check in and they deserve to see progress on the project at all points in time. Y'all have even seen job postings where clients are requesting artists to live stream their entire creative process so that the client can give live feedback to them. This is not a joke, it's something I've seen many times over the years. Now the reason for this line of thought is that they're actually quite excited but also very anxious about the process. They want to make sure that it connects to their vision. Now, from the artist perspective, artists understand that art is very ugly and it's a process, and it is a very ugly process. About 70% of the time, you're looking at something that generally the artist isn't proud of. So therefore, artists want to only give updates, generally speaking, when they have something worthwhile to show them, because an artist doesn't want to show somebody who's paid for a big project something that is completely unrecognizable, but it makes sense to them, but it won't for the client. So they're going to be very hesitant about showing off something that they're not proud of. And this can lead to very elongated, long gaps between any type of update being given to a client. For this round, y'all, I have to give it to the client. Because of their investment into the project, it is the artist's responsibility to make sure that that client is updated on an agreed upon schedule. And this is a major thing you need to hammer out with each client in each project. What's the duration of time and how often are you going to be checking in and delivering updates? You are compelled to, because you've been paid to do so, you're compelled to go ahead and give that client updates on it. It's something you have to do, and you have to keep them aware of what's happening in the project. Now, if you're not sure what this form should look like, I made an entire video for y'all about how you should deliver updates to clients, what's good enough, and some best practices. So go ahead and watch that after this. Round 6 is going to deal with, I think, the most important and one of the most heated topics here, which is the rights to assets. Who owns our work? What can be done with it? So let's watch them slug it out. Now, from the client's perspective, they paid for a product, right? They paid for that artwork, and therefore it's theirs to do what they want with it. It is their property. Yes, the artist made it. However, though, they are the originator of the idea, and therefore it is their property. And therefore they can do things like they could sell it, they could market it, they can claim it as their own because they paid for it. I mean, heck, I just bought a plant off Amazon. Amazon can't come to me. Jeff Bezos can't come to my house and take that thing back and say, no, that's mine. Don't come to my house and take my plant, please, Jeff. Now, from the artist's perspective, they're the ones who have labored over this, and therefore they feel that they are entitled to the rights to this project, to the rights to every single aspect that they've done, from sketch to the full rendering of it. They feel that it is theirs. And they feel too that if a client goes ahead and claims that as their own, or they claim ownership of it, then they are therefore in violation of some type of ethical agreement. Now, I'm going to lay down the fact for y'all right now. Whether you're an artist or client, you need to listen up. It's always going to be the property of the artist whenever artwork is made, except under one major circumstance, and that is if the artist and the client have mutually signed together what is called a NDA, or non-disclosure agreement. What the NDA basically says is that it is the property of the client, not the artist. You would very typically see this done in a lot of illustration agencies. You would see this done in firms, any type of corporate artwork, and certainly anybody that works in any professional art industry, they're going to be signing a lot of NDAs. With that being said, anytime an artist signs an NDA, it should be for a very fair, big sum of money for it, because you're not only paying for your time and your efforts, you're paying for your property to be sold. Anytime that an artist creates a product, it is their property. Now, there is a little bit of gray line here, which is this. Just because an artist goes ahead and is commissioned or does freelance work for some type of agency, it does not mean that it is their property to go ahead and monetize and sell. Like, you can't print t-shirts with somebody's OC on it. That is an ethical gray area because you both share intellectual property over it. However, though, it is definitely the artist's intellectual property in the product. The IP, the intellectual thought, does belong to the originator, to the client.
One thing now that we don't talk about as artists enough in how to be more successful is actually getting down to what do art clients want, which I'm going to tell you all about right now.
So when it comes to the artwork, the number one thing that clients are going to want to see, especially with characters, y'all, is a face. Doesn't matter if it is a human character, doesn't matter if it's a monster or anything in between there, but they're going to want to see the face because this is the number one most distinguishing feature of any artwork that you're ever going to make. If you don't do this, then generally they're going to be horribly dissatisfied with it. Now, you can sometimes circumnavigate this. I've drawn this particular Dragonborn character multiple times. By the time I got to this one, it was cool. It was okay for me not to show the face, but generally you want to be able to see that character. You want to draw it now from either a forward-facing position or a three-quarter angle or slightly turned. That's okay too, but don't do it from behind. If, let's say, you're making some type of compelling illustration where the character is not going to be the focus, that's all fine and legitimate too. Another allowance that you have with this one is if you're going to do group scenes. Like, for example, in this battle scene, it was really difficult for me to be able to get every single character's face in there because there are 7 of them, but I was able to get pretty much all of them, and I made enough distinguishing features of this little guy in the corner here to make it obvious which character this was. This is the most common piece of feedback that I've ever gotten in my entire career working with clients, is that they always want to make sure that you can see who that character is, and that starts with this beautiful part of them right here. Now, the next thing that you need to make sure that you design into your scenes are that the character is more facing forward. The number one thing that people want to be able to see, for the most part, is they want to be able to see that cool outfit, that cool design, the interesting dynamics, the personal flair that that client has given you to make that character unique. Now, what's really difficult to do though is when you start to turn them too much, or especially from behind, then it's going to generally take away from that and it's going to make them more unrecognizable. However though, there are some ways that you can kind of circumnavigate this one. So for example, in this double character illustration, I made it so that this little character up over here, who had a really ultra specific design by the way, I showed them as much as possible from the front since she's loosing an arrow. Meanwhile, this other character up over here, I made sure to turn him in enough a way that you could see his entire armor design, which is a very specific design that I was given, by the way, too. Here's another example that slightly breaks this rule. So in this one, the character is from behind, but they're turning all the way. So because of that, you're able to see the majority of all the characteristics that my clients wanted me to make sure that I put into those artworks. And you can do that too. So as you're going to be designing your compositions and your gestures, make sure that you can see mostly the front and or you really prioritize what are the most important features of this. This way you're going to ensure that you have less situations where you have to do some big edits or some redos. Nobody likes that, right? Now, when it comes to you designing the overall gestures and the dynamics of the scene, right? You don't want it to be lame and boring, but you also can't be too extreme with this. Let me show you what I mean here. So for example, in this image, here's this character leaning over. And now I really had to sell my client on why this was best. You can definitely get into trouble by you not showing enough of the characters. You don't want to make them look too small, too compact, too shortened, too dwarfed. You don't want to do this type of stuff because the client is generally not going to react well to that. And or especially because if you make them too dynamic, like if you see stuff like this, they're generally not going to like big crazy poses like this all the time because it's going to make them look too compact and you're not going to see all the details that the client is paying you to replicate for them. And just for you friend too, especially if you're less experienced with this, you're going to have a really brutal time trying to design around that and have it not look silly and awkward. You know what I mean? So make sure that you definitely do something interesting with that character, but at the same time, don't go so crazy that you make their anatomy look questionable and you take away from the overall aesthetic flair that that client wants you to put into it, because at the end of the day, they want something really specific. Now, one of the things that clients generally don't have a really good grasp on, and they should lean on you for as the artist here, is for you to put those detail elements into it. And this is going to be where you really come into play, friend, because you're going to have a really good wealth of knowledge about how to detail certain things that they generally don't know how to. So this is especially important for narrative components and small ornamentations. Things like armor, weapons, cybernetics, hair, clothing, and any other unique characteristics that are going to be in your artwork. You need to make sure that you really sell it and you level up everything that they give you. If your client gives you a reference, make it a better version of that. Go seek your own references too. Don't just rely on what the client is giving you. Like a client will only give me stuff like this, but then I'm going to go ahead and create an entire folder of like 20 to 40 references based on how I think I might want to do that and or to create more possibilities for what I might like that to look like. So follow this practice, y'all, and you're going to press the pants off your clients, I guarantee it. When it comes down to why somebody hired you in the very first place, y'all, here's the number one thing that you have to remember to do. You must adhere to the description. If you don't do that, your client is gonna be pissed at you and reject whatever you come up with. So in this first example, I came up with this sketch based on this character. She's supposed to be a rogue. I was given a very specific description of what her hair was supposed to look like too. So I felt like I really killed it on this one. But then, oopsie, I went back and I actually read the description when I showed the client this, and they were like, yeah, you know, hey, this is supposed to be a half body. And I was like, oh, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? But then I came up with this version instead, which I'm actually way happier about and actually way easier because it was only a half body. Make sure that you're following how they want you to actually draw the scene. Now, it's totally not uncommon for you to just work with a complete text-based description. For example, look at this. Look at all that text. Look at all that. There are so many more pages of examples like this I could show you from just this one client, okay? But from this, I got this. And that's really what I want to bring you into focus with. If you don't like something that's in the description, if you know as an artist, that's not going to work. Have a conversation with that client about it, because at the end of the day, you both want the same thing, awesome artwork, right? Here's the thing with that, is that when you're creating something that doesn't exist, you do have some allowances with it, but you have to stay in this. The best way I can describe this, y'all, is that you want to imagine that there is an umbrella. you need to stay under that umbrella of the description. The second you start to go outside that umbrella, you get drenched, you get wet, you gotta redo everything, and that sucks. Have you ever been there before? Let me know about it down below, because I've made those mistakes, and it's not fun, is it? So stick to the description. You're gonna please your client, and you're gonna have less redos and less edits. Won't that be great? Now, there's no way your client is gonna like anything you do if you don't forget to hit the like on this video. Thank you so much for your support of this content, and I really love to help artists just like you learn more stuff like this. Now, another big thing we gotta tackle here, what a client expects to see in your artwork is what makes it uniquely you, y'all. You gotta insert your unique personal flair into every single project that you do, because there is something amazing and special about you. So what clients expect from me is a lot of really dynamic color play. I love working with color. Nowadays, I also really like to do magic effects. It's just fun. Like every single artwork that I do, I always challenge myself just to like, yeah, what's a little bit more? What have I never done before too? Think about what you can do. What is important to you? What does a client get out of you? What sets your artwork apart from somebody else? And if you don't know that, that's okay, friend. You want to be right now in the pursuit of figuring out what that is. Just to show you an example here, this is my very first commission. Like, look at how awful this thing is. It's terrible. I got paid $40 to do this like 8 years ago. And this is my most recent commission. What a difference, right? Totally different foci, totally different emphasis, but you can see how I've slowly evolved into what I'm currently doing right now. And that's okay if you're not there yet, friend, because you will. And if you're not there, just start to figure it out. Not all at once, but just little bits at a time with every single artwork. See how that works? Next one's a big doozy, y'all, but we gotta talk about how you're gonna be sending updates to your clients and what they should expect. So this is Personal Standards 101. So let me show you an example of how an artwork starts and how it ends. So first, we got the line art right here. Then I basically do a quick color fill and I implement basic light sourcing, and then I start to pick out and focus on specific parts of it. A little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, until boom, now I got the final product. But one thing that I generally want is I make sure that I look at, okay, what was last week's update and what was this week's update? And how do I show the most growth, the most progress? I'm gonna be honest, y'all. Can I let you in on a little secret here? Sometimes I run into a week where I don't have a whole lot of time. I might only have like 2 or 3 hours to work on the product that week. So what I'll do is I'll literally sit there and say, okay, what can I do that's gonna make the biggest update? Like this, for example, I'm just gonna show you from this update to this update right here. I only worked on this for like 2.5 hours. But doesn't that look like I did a massive amount of progress on it? Because I made sure I picked out the things that changed the most. So you can be smart like that too. And this all, again, boils down to what is your personal standard, y'all? Because clients expect to see it. Doesn't matter if it's something outside your wheelhouse. Like when I did this Mass Effect fan art, I didn't expect to have to do that day, but I made sure to pour my all into it just like it was my typical fantasy genre stuff. And then two, when you're gonna be sending updates, make sure that it meets your standards. What do you expect to have done? What do you want to have going for it? Because if not, then you are gonna deliver a subpar product that the client is gonna be proud of, and neither will you. You don't want that, right? Now let's address this elephant in the room. How often should you be updating your clients? My minimum, once a week. Once a week they should get something. Once a week they should get a DM from me. Hey, here's your update just like this. Sometimes it's much faster than that too. Sometimes too, if I'm doing a quick and easy project like this one right here, I'm gonna deliver more than one update in the week because I can blast through this a lot easier. This one only took me like a week and a half to do. It was easy, it was awesome. So think about how you want to establish consistent updates. And here's my general recommendation. Decide on what is a good day and make sure that you're not stacking all your projects at once. I talked about this in great detail in my video right here, which you can find right down there. So make sure you go check it out for how to plan out your time.
So if you've been working with clients, or if you're just starting to and you want to avoid losing them, wouldn't that be great, right? You want to keep them, don't you? Then you definitely need to know why artists do these silly things that make them lose their clients.
You know what the number one mistake that I see people doing all the time for why they're not doing better and they're not getting more return clients and they're not making more money is because they're not listening to the client. I see so many artists just going rogue and just doing what they want, but then it just becomes like a mystery to them as far as Why don't they get more jobs? Why aren't they more successful? Well, it's because you're not doing what the client asks you to do. This especially goes for when you work with corporate clients and art directors, okay? When you're working with somebody who's an art director, they're gonna lay out everything that is totally necessary. And this especially goes for anyone watching this here right now that wants to work in-house at an art studio, at a game studio, at an illustration firm. You have to do what the client asks. Use your ideas, use your inspirations, insert your flair into it, but just make sure that you are actually fulfilling the task that you were originally hired for. Otherwise, people don't want to work with you. Imagine it like this. Imagine if you ordered food and then you went to go pick it up and you're like, what is this? I ordered Chinese. Why do I have Italian? It's the same thing with an art client or an art director or an art house. You need to make sure that you're actually fulfilling the task that you were hired for, or else why would you want to go back there? Now, when you're working with clients, when you're working with art directors, okay, what do you think the number one thing that they want out of an artist? I'm going to tell you from my experience, it is trust. You need to instill a sense of trust into that client. While you're doing that though, please rest assured and understand this, that you are being hired because you are definitely perceived as the expert. Be the expert. So always be gentle in telling your art client what will work and what won't work, because it's really gonna make you appear like you are a specialist. So for example, in this artwork that you're seeing right here, here's what the client asked me to do. He told me that this Dragonborn character needed to have a brass head, a blue arm, purple legs, and a red right arm. And I was like, okay, listen, that is a really cool idea. However, though, I'm really not sure that that's going to really lend itself to this image, and I think it's going to be a little bit confusing. Do you think it's possible for us to maybe limit that down a little bit? And this is what we came to. So listen, when you're working with freelance art clients, you want them to understand your thought process is because they don't know as much as you do. So be gentle in your approach. Now let's contrast this really quick with a corporate director or an art director, okay? So when you're approaching these types of clients, it's a little bit different. What I would actually recommend you do is don't just tell them, show them. Don't put in like a ton of time, but take like an extra hour or half hour and actually show them, hey, this idea I think is gonna look a little bit better. Hey, what do you think about this? I was thinking about it this way instead of the way that we had talked about last time, because I just think it's going to communicate, or it's going to show better, or it's going to be more eye-catching. Show them why. So definitely make sure that you at all times appear to be the expert on that project, and people are going to respect you for it. Now let's say that you're really invested into your customer service, into the quality of your interactions with your clients, and you're doing a great job of it. But listen, are you just a pushover people pleaser too at the same time? And this might surprise you to learn, but yeah, that might be why you're not getting art clients anymore. Because listen, if you are somebody who is always just at their beck and call, that always makes sure that they immediately respond to everybody on everything, that makes sure that they, no matter how extreme the request is, that you fulfill that because you're nervous about the fact that you might not get any more jobs, that you might not get another commission for a while. And especially y'all, I see this a lot, and I'm going to speak from experience here. When you work with cheap art clients, you get basically into this position of what I call a volunteer victim, which is when you are going to do everything that the client asks out of fear that you're going to lose them. That's not how you need to operate, because it basically demonstrates a lack of respect for yourself. Y'all, I wish I was joking with this example, but I'm not. I have seen more than one job posting where a client specified that they want to be on live stream while the artist is working on the art piece so that they can comment on it. Like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I would never want anyone's voice in my head while I'm making artwork, and neither would you. So make sure that you're not putting yourself into an abused role where you're going to be working with clients that actually don't respect you, that are just control freaks. Make sure that you respect yourself, make sure that you respect the work, but at the same time, don't kill yourself for this, because it's just artwork, it's just a job. Make sure that you get in, you get out, and you deliver something you're stupidly proud of. Hey, have you ever tried to argue with somebody and no matter what you say, they just always have a comeback and they just seem to be forcing their opinions or ideals on you? Well, listen, if you're forcing your vision onto an art client or an art director, then there's no way that they're going to ever want to work with you. And more often than not, your idea might be better than the client's. Now, for example, on this artwork that you're seeing, my client really wanted this character to have big, huge wings. He's like a 9-foot tall dragonborn warrior, okay? You want him to have like a big 7-foot wingspan. And I could have just gone in really hard and said like, no, that's absolutely not going to work. It's going to ruin the composition. I'm not going to be able to see anything in the background like I wanted to. Or I took a more gentle approach and I said to him, okay, look, if you really want this, I can do it. However, though, just FYI, here's what we're going to lose on this one. You're not going to be able to see the background. You're not going to be able to see the undead. You're not going to be able to see the magical effects. So how important is it to you that they have their wings shown in this image? Or I could maybe have them underneath his cloak in the back. So be really tactful in how you're going to express your discontent with the direction or a contradictory vision of how you're going to do that, so that you just don't piss them off. Because a lot of artists, y'all are just coming at this really tactless, and that's why you're not getting more jobs. Now, the worst thing that you could do for why you're not getting more art jobs is because you forgot to hit the like button. So definitely make sure you do that, because I love making content like this and helping y'all out in starting, maintaining, or progressing your art careers. Now, let's not forget about this one. Now, as you're going through your projects and you're working with your clients, let me ask you this. What's your update procedure like? How do you let them know what the progress is? Are you one of these people that just send off an email, just send off a quick message and just boom, here's the image? If you're giving really lousy updates, people are not gonna like working with you. If you've ever had the experience of having children, it's kind of like if you go to the doctor's office, they're gonna let you know, okay, we're this far along, we got this long to go, here are some things, some symptoms that you might feel, and here are some things coming up in the future. Be like that with your art updates. Tell them, hey, this is what I've done this past week, and this is some of the stuff that I intend to do in our next update, and here's some of the stuff I'm excited for. And also let them know, hey, don't look at that. Now, if you're unsure just how to even update clients and what's a good update versus a bad update, that's a whole topic in and of itself. I made an entire video which you'll find right down below there, so definitely go check that out, because that is going to be game changing for a lot of you watching this. Here's a big question I want to ask you. Do you treat your art, even while you're working with clients, even while you're freelancing, like it is a job, or do you treat it like it is a hobby? If you were working at a 9-to-5 job and your boss said by 10 a.m. I need to have that report, and you didn't get that report in, you'd probably be in some trouble. You'd be in some deep water, right? Treat it that way with our clients. Are y'all missing your deadlines all the time? Do you say that, hey, by Friday I'm gonna have your next update, and then Friday comes along, and what do? You don't even have anything. Maybe you didn't even do anything that week, and you didn't communicate it to the client. You didn't tell them anything about that. If you're missing your deadlines all the time, and you're constantly pushing it out, if you say, hey, I'm gonna give you your update on Friday, and then they don't hear anything, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's Wednesday, and they get an update, that's gonna piss them off. It's gonna make them feel like it's not a priority. Can't tell you how many times I need to push back an update, but I'll keep it reasonable. If I tell them, hey, Saturday night is when you're going to expect your update, and then Friday night rolls around and I know I'm not going to get that done, I'm going to reach out to them and say, hey, look, I really want to give you the best possible update possible, and I'm not going to be able to do it on Saturday, but I'll definitely get it to you on Sunday. Keep it reasonable, like within 1 or 2 days generally, and you're okay with that. And the client's going to understand that, because they want the best possible results, and so do you. So work together on that, my friend. But if you're missing deadlines all the time, or they don't even matter to you, if you're not treating your art like it is a job, then it won't pay you like a job. If you're treating it like it is a hobby, it will pay you like it's a hobby, which is this much. See the difference? Do you get an email? Do you get a DM from your client, from your team, from your director, and they ask you a question, or they reach out to you, and then what do? 3 days later, you send off a response like, bro, are you really that busy? Show me your screen time right now, and show me that you were too busy over the course of 72 hours to respond back to somebody's message. That's just unacceptable. It's just laziness, and it's avoidance. And yeah, sometimes you got to deal with some hard things. I get it. It happens with us, okay? But nonetheless, you have to be the professional. If you want to be a professional, be a professional. And that starts and ends with how you communicate with other people, because it shows that they are valued. And the number one thing humans want, and especially our clients, our art directors, our teams want, is for you to value them. So show that you value it. Here's your golden principle here. Adopt mine if you wish. 12 hours, within 12 hours of receiving anything, make sure that you respond. That might even seem like it's too long to you, but here's the thing. I work with a lot of international clients. Sometimes they'll hit me up while I'm asleep. So within 12 hours, boom, I'm gonna respond to that person. And if you really wanna level up your art business, this is what you gotta attend to. It's number one, customer service. Think about it. So if I was to ask you, what do you think is the number one thing that you could ever do to an art client or an art director or your team that would pretty much blacklist you? It would probably be ghosting them, don't you think? If you're just avoiding them, y'all, there is a greater issue at hand. And there are legit reasons why I think sometimes this happens, but there is no legitimate reason for you to do this and just let it go like it doesn't matter. Here's what you need to understand. Regardless of what happened in your life, you have to be the one to hold yourself accountable. So listen, the next time that you say to yourself, I don't have time to do this project, even though you've already accepted, even though you've already been paid for, even though you've already started it, just say this phrase, I just don't care, because it's not a priority to you. So if it's not a priority to you, make sure you give that client back their money. Make sure you apologize to them. Make sure you reach out to them. Don't avoid that awkward conversation. Just embrace it and accept it and make sure that you make things right. It is never okay for you to just ghost somebody and to just disappear into the nether and just make them feel like they were screwed. Don't set yourself up for failure like that, my friend. Deal with it. Don't avoid it, because if you avoid it, then you're also avoiding your potential. Have you ever thought of it like that? Have you ever accepted a job where you had to do something you've never done? Maybe it was a weapon, maybe it was a hairstyle, maybe it was a clothing style, maybe it was a background. So let me ask you this, friend. Do you actually do it? Do you actually deliver the artwork that the client wants? Or are you just delivering excuses? Have you ever turned in something to a client and kind of just danced around the fact that you didn't really do it? So for example, in this artwork, I knew from the get-go that this was going to be a big push for me to do all these magical effects plus all these undead creatures that this Dragonborn character is slaying right now. But here's the thing, I chose that, so therefore it's my responsibility to pull it off. Like, imagine if I just didn't even try with that background. Imagine if I just tried to, just use the soft round brush and try and paint it out. Have you ever done anything like this before? Do you ever deliver something to a client and you're like, yeah, well, this was kind of hard, this was kind of difficult? Like, listen, if this is you, friend, here's my advice for you. You need to seek resources, watch some tutorials, check out more resources. For the love of God, how many references are you using too? You're probably having a terrible time because you don't use references right, or you don't have enough of them. What are you working off of, 3 or 4? That's not enough for professional grade artwork. You can do better than that, friend. So in the end, make sure that you fulfill everything that you can accept. And yeah, it's okay for you to accept at some point that that is not the best version that you'll be able to do in 5 or 10 years from now. But make sure that you throw your entire being at that every single time, and that client's gonna appreciate it. They're gonna love it. They're gonna respect you for it, and they're gonna trust you more as you go.
All right, so now you're definitely ready to learn how to get endless repeat art clients so that you never have to go looking for them again. Wouldn't that be great? Learn my secrets. So let me paint a familiar picture to you and tell me if this sounds about accurate. Have you ever had somebody reach out to you and say, hey, how much are your rates? Boom, you throw out your commission sheet, or boom, you throw out your pricing like that? If that's you, stop doing that now. If you're not sure why art commission sheets are a terrible idea, and also why you need to talk to your art clients more, definitely check out my videos down below, because I want to help you out big time. The number one thing that you have to understand about getting repeat clients is that it starts with qualifying them better. When you actually qualify the client and you give an informed rate, you appear like you are professional, you appear like you are a specialist, and you appear like you are an artist of higher perceived value. So don't skimp out on that. Don't be afraid of social conversation, my friend. You need to do that in order to increase your value, increase your worth, and therefore you start to build that connection. You build that bridge with that client. And then when you get hired, y'all, you gotta do this. So right now, I'm gonna take a guess that you might not be making exactly what you want on your art commissions, and you're definitely right, my friend. You probably deserve to be making more. However, though, if you're just starting out especially, or if you're in the middle of trying to grow your current price point, here's my best piece of advice for you, leaning quick for this one. You have to treat every single job like it is the job. So let's say, for example, that your overall goal is to get up to $500 each commission that you're gonna do, okay? But right now, you're only making 40. What you need to do, my friend, is you need to treat that $40 job like that $500 job, because I'm gonna promise you this, y'all, you're never gonna get there to that big price point mark if you are not currently engaged in the practices and the procedures and pouring every ounce of your soul into that artwork. And guess what? Your client, they're gonna pick up on that. They're gonna be noticing all those awesome efforts that you're making. And then as well too, they're also gonna pick up on when you do big stuff like this. So when you actually start working with your client, do you ever notice how your enthusiasm level goes down a little bit? Do you ever notice how now it's transitioned from this being this big, exciting experience, like, oh yeah, I got some money, I got some clients, I got some validation for myself, and now it's starting to slide down into, oh, it's work. My friend, if you're feeling like this, I don't blame you. But listen, here's the best thing that you have to do to get more repeat clients. You have to demonstrate genuine enthusiasm. If you have a client who's gone ahead and they've poured their heart and soul out into this big, super long text about their character and the scene that you're gonna make for them, and you respond with something to the effect of, oh, okay, I can do that. That just sounds so lame and robotic. It makes it seem like you don't care as an artist. Make them feel like they're working with a professional. Tell them, wow, that's an amazing idea. I can't wait for that. That sounds really great. I could do a really beautiful job with that. Because at the end of the day, y'all, you are not working to produce artwork. You're working to produce an experience for your client. And every single piece of communication that you have with your client, make sure that they know that you are genuinely excited to be a part of this experience for them. And then to continue to hook them, make sure you think about this. You should definitely give them some type of consistent pricing on their point, okay? Especially because if you work with somebody really long time, let's say you work with somebody for a year, I've had that experience, I've worked with people that are even longer than that. I generally keep them at the same price point. Now, however, though, that is not to say if they're gonna up the ante, then make sure that you adjust your price accordingly, because the last thing you wanna do, friend, you don't wanna be screwed, am I right? You don't wanna feel like, oh, well, now you're working for pennies. Here's a great example for you. So while I was working with this client over here at this price point, I was also working with this client over here at this price point some years ago. So this then gives you the opportunity to collect some money and you have some consistency about it. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, what happens when I grow, Sean? Valid question. While you are growing, my friend, definitely feel free to do little bumps in pricing. So for example, if you're afraid to ask them for more money, here's a basic script for you to follow. Hey, look, my overall workload has been increasing. I'm working with more clients and I need to bump up my rates a little bit because my quality is going up. I want to deliver you the best experience possible. So, hey, I know we used to be at $75, but I got to up it to $85. Is that still cool with you? Because I'd love to have the opportunity to continue to work with you. I'm gonna tell you this, y'all. I've never had a client that comes back to me after that, and that just seems so humanly understanding, right? Who comes back to me and says, no, Sean, that's absolutely not doable. Yeah, man, it's a few bucks. Now, also, at a higher price point, you could also say like, hey man, look, I know I used to charge you $400, but now it's gonna be $500. And to be honest, yeah, they're probably gonna say yes, because if they have a long established relationship with you, here's the thing, they'd rather deal with you than deal with trying to find a new artist and take a potential risk of getting somebody who sucks or is gonna scam them or is just not gonna deliver the quality that you can. That's how you deliver quality, consistent pricing. And nobody ever talks about that, nor has anybody ever told you this. Y'all, I love to give you all this help and advice, things you never hear on YouTube, things that you never hear about Art Commission. So if you could just throw me some love back, throw out that like, subscribe, and follow right there. And hey, also, please share this with somebody who might benefit from hearing about this and also wants to hear this. How do you end your projects? When you're done working on a project, when you're done working with a client, what do you do about it? Here's some real secret sauce I can't wait to share with you right now. At the end of working with a client, after they've received all of your wonderful files, your beautiful artwork that you've made for them, do this. Ask them this. What's your next project? Do you have anything else in mind? I'd love to continue working with you more. What else do you have? More than likely, they're either gonna give you a new project to work on immediately, or they're gonna have something brewing in their head down the line. They may not contact you right away about it, but maybe in a month or two they will, and they'll come back. I can't tell you how many times this has happened to me, and it's allowed me to breathe a little easier, because when you have somebody come back to you because of this great experience that you've delivered, oh my God, it is so much better than you having to go through the process of trying to find clients. Which, by the way, if you don't know where to find clients, definitely check out my links down below. I'll tell you where to go and where not to go. And then also, y'all can do this. If you want to stand out, if you want to create just the classiest possible perception of yourself, y'all do this. Check this out right here. So at the end of 2022, I sent out on January 1st all of these thank you cards to every single client that I worked with in that year. There were a lot of them, and honestly, it was so much fun to do this, and I wasn't sure how they would receive it. But y'all, I'm just gonna show you right here. This was the client's reactions to this. And you can see they're just over the moon, flattered, excited. They did not expect this. And they really, really loved this. And doing something like this, doing a personal touch at the end of every single project, even if it's just a thank you card like this, y'all, it really sets you apart from the crowd where most people are just gonna say, here's your artwork, bye-bye. Now, how did I do this? It's stupidly easy, y'all. Just go ahead and go on over to Canva. You can make yourself a template from scratch, or you can just pick from one of their own. That's exactly what I did. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way, so don't think I'm trying to shove that down your throat. You can do this, and it's really a great way to set the tone. You can even send it with your final artwork. This is something that I'm starting to do this year, and I would encourage you to start to do the same because it definitely shows that you are going above and beyond, and it makes that client know that you're also gonna go above and beyond for their project if you took the time to do this at the end of a project. Doesn't that sound amazing? I bet you've never heard that, right? You've probably also assumed this, but never thought about this. If I were to ask you, what do you think a client looks for in an artist, and what do you think makes or breaks this experience? So for example, if you tell your client, okay, on Thursday this week, you are going to receive your update, or if you tell them, hey, on Saturday, I'm definitely gonna get that to you. Saturday rolls around. Where's the update? You didn't talk to them? You didn't tell them? You didn't reach out to them? You need to project yourself as a professional at all times. Y'all, here's a really big thing that I need to let you know. You are never gonna be a professional artist if you don't treat yourself and conduct yourself like a professional artist now. You can't wait for that opportunity to come for you to work at a game studio, for you to work for a big illustration firm, if you are not currently conducting yourself like you would in that present moment. Listen, y'all, things come up all the time. I get it. We're all humans here. And just tell them this. Look, I'm really want to deliver you the best possible quality that I can, and I just need another day, or I'm going to give you an update in a couple days from right now because I really want to show you the potential of this project. I've got great things in mind. Hey, do you mind waiting a couple extra days for this? Who in the world is going to reject that? You wouldn't mind waiting for that, would you? Like if you knew that you had to wait a little longer, but you knew it was going to be a better product, yeah, you probably wouldn't mind, would you? Neither will your client. Try that. All right, y'all, here comes a big bomb for you. And I want to let you know why you need to be careful out there by telling you about the 10 different ways that I've gotten art scammed so that you don't. Check this out and beware.
All right, y'all, this first one seems potentially like a no-brainer, but you get all excited and you just go ahead and you give away the whole world, and that starts with your bank information. And typically this gets disguised as an electronic check because no one's just gonna come right out and be like, hey bro, what's your routing number and your bank number? But they'll go ahead and they'll say, I need to send you an electronic check, can you please give me your bank information? And guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna take everything you own and then some from you. Another big thing that you want to do is typically whenever somebody is going to ask for this, they're going to say that they represent a company or something good. So ask what the company's name is, ask for their name and what they do in that company, and then go ahead and Google that. I'm going to guarantee you this, friend, you're going to find that that doesn't exist. You're going to find maybe like a Google Sites page that they made for nothing because it's a fake organization and it doesn't exist. So don't get suckered in by this. Don't let your excitement allow you to give away your whole life because that's what they want. Now, across all platforms, but especially for those of you that like to do character designs or concept art or certain designs, you might be lured into doing a test art. Have you ever seen these things before? You might have seen a job posting where somebody says, I need to see a test of what you can do. I need to make sure that you're the right fit for my project, right? Well, here's the problem with that, y'all. You don't ever produce before you get paid. You need to get paid something before you lift a finger. Y'all, I once worked with an author who wanted me to read their book or some sections of their book before I even drew anything so that I understand it. I was like, whoa, back up there. You gotta pay me. Even if you were to go for a AAA game company, even if you were to go for a massive publisher and they ask for this, they will pay you. Now, typically what this type of scammer wants is just some free art, and they're gonna compliment the pants off of you. They're gonna romance you with how great your art is, and then they're just gonna go ahead and ghost you. Have you ever fallen victim to this? So have you ever had somebody drop into your DMs or send you an email for a project that you just have absolutely nothing to do with? Y'all gotta watch out for this one because it's super prevalent. Right now, here are some of the biggest ones. I see people trying to commission people to draw Spider-Man, something from Into the Spider-Verse right now is really big too. Pets, there's a lot of like big community projects too that they'll do, and they'll say like, well, this is for global warming or for the environment or some nonsense like that. So y'all, here is your main mantra I want you to remember. Say no if you don't show. If you don't show it in your portfolio and they're asking for something way outside of it, I'm gonna tell you right now, this has nothing to do with anything good. This will not turn out well for you, friend, and you will get taken advantage of. Have you ever seen these or have you gotten these in your DMs? Because myself and lots of other artists are right now. So don't fall victim to that because it's total crap. So look, as a freelancing artist, you're clearly in it for the money, right? You want to sustain yourself, you want to support your family, you want to move out, you want to go ahead and you've got all these great financial goals. So this next one's really important for you. Listen up. Make sure that if you ever have somebody message you that is super forthcoming about payment, and especially when they start to drop some large figures in there too, that is a massive red flag. Y'all, I just want you to imagine this. Imagine that you went to a drive-thru and you just threw money at the person and said, hey, what can I get for that? What they're doing is that this is a lure for desperation. People do not just come out of the woodwork and say, ooh, here's $1,000. Can you draw this for me? That just doesn't happen. People want you to set that price point more than anything. And if they're not gonna ask you for it, if they're gonna come right out for it, I guarantee you that is a red flag and you're gonna get scammed. Oftentimes what this will result in is just a chargeback, in which case they'll get free art out of you. See how that works? Man, this next one, this is a doozy. So to tell you a little context of this, I was recently awarded a daily deviation by DeviantArt, which is always cool to wake up to. Then I also had these scammers slide into my DM, and what they're gonna do is they're gonna tell you that they are making a mural for oftentimes a very affluent client and say that they want to put it inside of like this massive canvas inside of some rich dude's house. So check this out. First thing is that they told me the name of a bogus company, and then they told me that they represented this person who didn't exist, and then finally, the chef's kiss, look at that. They asked for my bank info to send me an electronic check, which by the way was a total scam. And I even said to them, look, you're a fool, man. I'm gonna expose you all over YouTube. So look, I'm just staying true to my promise, y'all. Don't ever allow yourself to get suckered into a scam like this because it has the lure of prestige. Now look, this next one, I can't even believe that this is still happening. But in case you've been living under an art rock or you're just brand new to everything over the last 2 years, there are these things called NFTs. So in case you don't know anything about what this is, quickly, this is what stands for a non-fungible token. It's a form of cryptocurrency, it's a form of investment, and here's why it's a total scam. Because somebody is gonna pay you what seems like a good amount, especially if you're just starting out, especially if you're young. Someone might offer you like $300 to $500 for your artwork, and you're gonna be like, whoa, that's amazing. They'll either ask for your bank info, you know that's not a good idea, or they're gonna pay you in a cryptocurrency like Ethereum, which is essentially worthless outside of cryptocurrency. Then here's what they're gonna do too. They're gonna go ahead and they're gonna sell your artwork for thousands. Somebody might make 20,000, 100,000, a million off of your image that you've given up the rights for. And then guess what? Now it gets circulated around the web and you're helping rich people get even richer. Like, it's just stupid. So look, if you've been freelancing for a little bit, you're probably familiar with why people are afraid of chargebacks. Here's what this will basically take the form of. Somebody might accidentally overpay you. Maybe you charge $200 for an artwork or less, heck. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna say, oops, I accidentally sent you $2,000 instead of $200. Oh, silly me. So then they're gonna say, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you just go ahead and just send me that back, that $1,800, that difference right there? Here's the problem, y'all. This is a total scam. That person never had that much money to begin with. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna get $1,800 from you that you can't ever get back. Another thing that can start to happen is that somebody will try and make this big, elaborate story about how, well, look, you know, all this money is coming from this giant pot, but I don't need it all, so I'm gonna let you keep some of it, and then I need you to send me back the rest. Don't have anything to do with that person anymore. block, delete, leave them alone. Don't ever continue to talk to these people. They are nasty scamming predators. Now we're getting into what I'm going to define as also just a bad practice, and especially if you're new, especially if you don't have a lot under your belt there, you're probably going to get taken advantage of by somebody that tells you that they're gonna pay later. They're gonna pay after this check mark, or they're gonna pay after so much progress is done, they're gonna pay after the entire project is done itself. This should never happen, y'all. Here's the problem with this, y'all. This is a total noob trap where there is a promise of potential, because for you, you're like, yes, I'm finally gonna get paid for my art. Yeah, I'm gonna make that much money. It's gonna be so good. I just can't wait to knock this out. Can't wait to do this great artwork, and yeah, I get paid and tell my parents I've got potential with this, right? But at the end of it, most of the time, y'all, you're not gonna get paid. You're gonna have to chase people for payments. This is just a bad practice, y'all. If you don't get full upfront payment, at least go for half. At least go for something. Like, you should never pick up pen, pencil, paintbrush, or stylus, or anything until you are rendered payment, friend. Now, if you have seen anything like what I've already described, and or if you start to encounter something that seems a little off, seems a little sketchy, right? So if you're in a sketchy situation, it's looking a little dicey, things aren't really lining up the way that you think that they should, here's what I want you to do, y'all. Trust your gut on that, okay? Your gut is gonna tell you, yeah, this is too sketchy, this is probably not real. I don't wanna get caught up in the emotion. That's a big thing, y'all. Don't get caught up in the emotion on this, okay? You have to think with your brain, not your heart, on business transactions like freelancing and art. Here's a big one too, y'all. If you ever get somebody that every single time you ask them a question, well, what do you want this to look like? Or what do you imagine this is? Or, you're gonna be asking them for specifics on the project, and they're gonna come back and just say like, well, hey, look, I want you to use your artistic creativity. I don't wanna stifle you, man. Here's the thing with that. I'm just gonna be real honest with you. Unless you are somebody of already a high notoriety, that's just not realistic. Like, people, like, you are not Ross Tran here, okay? People will go to him and say, man, what can you do with this idea, okay? For those of us that are not on that level, though, that's not gonna happen. People are gonna be more specific with that. They're gonna have a more general idea of what they want done and how they want it done. And yeah, it's nice to have some flexibility with that, but just be honest, people are never just gonna come to you and say, here's a project for X amount of dollars, do what you can for it. Another big one too is that when clients start to say that they didn't get your invoice on PayPal, and or they did and they paid you and oopsie, it's just not coming through, right? From now on, friend, don't send people invoices on PayPal. If you're using PayPal, just stop this right now. Here's what you do instead. So if you're on PayPal right here, go over to the payments tab, then go over to the request, and you're gonna scroll down a little bit, and you're gonna see the link for your PayPal Me. This is a unique and individualized address that you can give somebody that when they click on it, it sends them directly to you. And as long as you've already discussed pricing, boom, it comes right to you. Y'all have been doing it this way for years, zero issues with it. If somebody is telling you after that process that they have rendered payment and you haven't gotten anything about it, it's a lie.
So now you might be thinking, well, I really want to freelance or I want to get into commissions, right? But what do people not tell me? Because I'm going to tell you this, y'all. You wish you knew this earlier about art commissions. Whenever you look at most people's postings, whenever you look at their responses to people that are actually looking, to hire you as an artist, you're gonna see that there's a huge amount of unprofessional activity across all platforms. Here's a prime example of things I see all the time. Somebody wants their Dungeons & Dragons character, their OC drawn, and what do they get? Somebody slams a whole bunch of naughty, not safe for work artwork up there. Like, bro, that's not what the client wants, but you decided to put your naughty bit artwork out there like that was gonna entice them into it. Like they're gonna be like, well, I didn't want that, but now I do. And then too, you got the whole emergency commissions thing, which 9 times out of 10 is just a scam and somebody that's desperate for money. We can't do this, y'all. So if you don't know how to post, if you don't know where to go, if you don't know how you should be responding to clients, what you do need to actually get eyes on your artwork, then definitely please check out the rest of my guides, because I really want to help you all with this one. And I also really want to help you out with this. For a large part of people either posting for art commissions and or people that are trying to get art commissions, Y'all are producing the worst red ocean effect that I could ever possibly imagine. If you're not familiar with that term, red ocean effect, it's basically a marketing term that describes it when there is a very fierce and overly competitive market for basically scraps of money. And when you look across most platforms, you're going to see most people are charging ridiculously low, disrespectfully low sums of money. Now, yes, there are people out there that are going to tell you, oh, well, it's your business as far as how much you want to charge and how much you don't. You can't do this. Doesn't it just stand the reason that if you're not going to show up with the amount of respect that you need to get paid competitive wages, how the heck is anybody going to want to pay you dollars when you're charging pennies? Why would anybody do that? Don't do that for art, y'all. Art is such an amazing, specialized set of skills that you cannot degrade it for lesser than sums of money. Please don't do this, y'all. And also, definitely don't do this either. So I've talked to and definitely heard from a good amount of artists that will brag to me and tell me about all the commissions that they're getting, and they'll tell me about the number of commissions that they're getting per month. And I just got to be honest with you, if you're getting tons of commissions and you're not scaling your pricing as well, then you have a really bad business model and you're cheating yourself out of what you could and should be making. So here's the basis of this, is that I have seen many people that say like, oh, I get 20 commissions a month. Bro, really? You get 20 commissions a month? How much are you charging for 20 commissions? Because if you're making 20 commissions at $20, that's not a lot of money. That's not sustainable. It's not worth it. Even again, if you're outside of North America and Europe, you deserve to get more money than that. It doesn't matter where you live, friend. So with this, real simple fix, y'all. Every 1 to 3 commissions, you need to up that rate. When you get into crazy high demand, like people start coming to you a lot more often, jump up that pricing. That's all you have to do. You are both product and producer as artist. And what's really important that you recognize about that is that then gives you the autonomy, just like a business market, to increase your rates as much as you need to. And then to be honest, you really shouldn't go back down from there. Like for example, if you start charging $300 for artwork, under no circumstance you can be like, yeah, I'm gonna go 50 this month. And y'all gotta admit this too. Whenever you don't get paid well for your artwork, what happens? You feel really discouraged, you feel really disempowered, and therefore you leave it. And speaking about disempowerment, y'all, I have to address this. In the last few months, I've seen a new player come onto the art commission scenes that I think as a community we definitely need to address, and that is AI art scam commissions. So these are AI users that are going ahead and they're undercutting and they're underpricing and underselling what they can do using AI prompt generators in order to produce artwork that seemingly appears to be better than human-made artwork. Y'all, I just gotta point this one out. I'm gonna give you my perspective on this, love it or hate it, but it is a total scam. So first off, as far as AI art is concerned, the whole charging for artwork that's really just based off of an image generator runs completely counterintuitive to the entire democratizing artwork for everybody campaign that they're all so proud of. So that makes absolutely no sense. And then also, here's the fact that you didn't actually produce it, you can't lay claim to it, and potentially you might have stolen someone's artwork in it because God knows what the heck that casserole of an AI artwork was composed of. All these people, they're gonna get found out. And then I think that overall, they're gonna make themselves go extinct because honestly, why would anybody pay for something that they could do themselves? So I wouldn't worry about this right now. I think that people are gonna wise up to this and they're gonna learn how to do this. Hey, on this topic, would you like to see me give you an entire video for both artists and clients as far as how do you identify AI art scammers? Because if so, I'm happy to make that one for y'all. If you're like right now just starting out into getting art commissions, if you're trying to figure out exactly what do you need to do, where you need to go, here's what I unfortunately want to let you know. There's a whole lot of YouTubers that don't tell you anything helpful. I'm telling you that from experience, I remember when I was first starting out and I used to do the same thing that you're doing right now. I'm canvassing the internet, trying to figure out what do I do, where do I go, and all this. And here's the problem, is that most YouTubers don't want to give away their secrets because, to be honest with you, friend, they're afraid of themselves losing business to you. I personally, though, I'm not afraid of doing that, okay? Because I have a greater mission, my friend, of the entire landscape of art commissions and the art business changing to the point where we all are respected and we respect ourselves, most importantly. I want to be a very empowering force for artists because I just know that there are not enough of them. And listen, y'all, if you are really interested in actual actionable advice, I really invite you to view the rest of my content, particularly in my art commissions playlist. It's really going to help you and change your life with that too. Y'all, whenever you're gonna post anywhere, you really need to carefully consider where you're posting, what the group is, what the subreddit's like, and or whatever that particular group or website that you're gonna post on is, because I just gotta be honest with you, there's a lot of platforms that degrade artists. These are websites or groups or forums where people feel like they have to undercut themselves in order to just get a little bit of that. And this is wrong. It's wrong on the platform. And what I really wanna say is that there needs to be more platforms that have minimums as far as what artists are allowed to post for and what clients are allowed to pay. This would annihilate the entire issue at hand. And here's a really great example. So there's a subreddit that I belong to called Fantasy Artists, and they have a minimum, you hear me, minimum price of $30 per hour of professional work. So this invites, again, more professional artists and more professional paying clients as well. There needs to be more websites like this, because this would really propel artists into a better financial place, into getting more clients to understand the respect level that you need to have for artwork. And it would allow more clients to exist for the art world who actually get that this is not an easy task. It's not something everybody can do, and therefore it is valuable. Because my friend, if you depreciate on yourself, everybody else is going to depreciate all over you too. So you definitely can't go to these platforms where everybody's undercutting themselves. You just can't survive on there, I'm sorry to tell you. One of the biggest problems that I see people have is that they have an unclear distinction as far as what do you do with art commissions? What's your future in it? Is there a career in it? And there's just this unrealistic expectations. And I really want to clarify this for everybody watching. This is super important for you. And I want to empower you on this one too at the end. So just stick with me on this. First off, art commissions alone, they're not a career, okay? There's a big distinction you need to make right now between a private art commission and a commercial art commission. And here's the big difference here. If you're working with private clients, they're average people just like you and I, people watching this, okay? And they're using their private funds that they get from their average day-to-day job, their average day-to-day lives, and they're putting it towards an artist. Versus if you're going to eventually move this into something, the goal of art commissions, friends, is for you to then move into a commercial space and or make a brand for yourself. But people confuse private art clients with commercial art clients all too often. Y'all, we just need to be really clear on what we want to do here. Do you want to just do this as a side hustle and work with private clients and enjoy that? Or do you want the rigor and the obvious pay increase of working for commercial clients? So just figure that out for yourself. Tell me what you want to do down below. All right, y'all, so we got to talk about how you're trying to get clients right now, because I got to be honest, there's a whole lot of nonsense avoidant tactics that I see people use way too often. These are things like, hey, if you want to commission me, fill out my Google form. Oh, it's down there below. Or you use a third-party website where they fill out a little form and then you get an email, or you ask your client to just go ahead and email you. Y'all, all of these things take all of the humanity out of the entire process. If you've never heard this before, please hear me as the first person to let you know this. When you're gonna be doing art commissions, y'all, it's not about making an image. It's not about you just getting paid for money. It's not about you trying to grow a business just for the sake of growing a business, just so you feel good about yourself. Y'all, the only way that you'll grow is when you recognize that you are delivering an amazing human experience with another human being. And that has to start with a human connection. So the only way that you should be getting inquiries, you should be reaching out to clients, that you should be discussing the details of it, is not through a commission sheet. It's not through when someone DMs you and you just slap out a price there. You need to have a full-on human conversation. And I've given you an entire outline on how to do this. And this is literally how I've been doing this for the last 5 years. And it's been tremendously successful. And everybody that does it tells me it's tremendously successful as well. And this is in my video. I'm going to link it down below for you so that you have an entire script of how do you talk to our clients, how do you actually get them interested without a stupid commission sheet, a Google form, an inquiry sheet, an email, or any other nonsense like that. All of these are just robotic excuses for you not to interact with another human being. And if you want to be successful with art commissions, you want to build your business, this is how you're going to do it, I promise you. Now, one of the things that you definitely can't overlook if you want to get a really good art business going for yourself is how do you price yourself, which is why I made this whole series for you right here. Go ahead and check it out.